Welcome to a Fifth of Jack Gaming, where we're going to end up taking a deep dive in our updated version of Velociraptor 2.0. This is an upgrade from the Precon, which I have to say, out of the box, it's a pretty solid as well. Without further ado, let's jump over to Moxfield to be able to start breaking that down. Come over here, we'll hit Enable Tags, and we'll have it all nicely broken down for us. So it's going to be important. Down in the description, like I did with the Deck Tech, we'll have a link to this and our Echo Tech. And we already know what our commander does. It discovers awesome dinosaurs that have a big booty. So with that, you need to have a whole bunch of dinosaurs, which we do, having a bunch of different abilities and nice little ways to discover into them. The limiting factor that we have with our commander is that it could only go once per turn. We had to figure out ways to work around that. The ways that we ended up doing are, let me see here. We have 3 different ways in the deck. So the ways that we ended up doing this is Cryptic Gateway. So with Cryptic Gateway, we'll be able to tap 2 dinosaurs and put a dinosaur from our hand onto the battlefield, and then we'll get to discover. Something that's similar to that is our monster manual, where we can pay a green and 1, tap it, and do the exact same thing. And this Progenitor's icon allows us to do something similar, where we have to tap it the next chosen type of the spell that we could cast. It has Flash. So that also allows us to be able to flash in a dinosaur that comes over with it. However, we do have a couple good tutors that we could end up doing. Oh, I see a guy that didn't make it back over to the dinosaurs. Let's quickly change that tab. Boop, boop. Go back over there. There we go. We have a few tutors that's in there. Altogether, we have 4 that we end up having. This allows us instant speed in response of our discover. We can end up doing this to be able to make sure that the creature that we want to have is on top, and we can discover into it. Finale allows us to go into our library and graveyard. So does the Icora or the Envision of Icora. And Savage Order has a sacrifice a creature that has a power of 4, and we can grab any other dinosaur in our deck. So the big thing about Invasion of Icora is that it has a couple different sides. So it has this side, which is the battle side, which you'll be able to play it right off the get-go. So for 2 green and X, whatever X is, we can end up looking for a creature card from our graveyard or from our library with that. And then they have to defend it, and if we do 6 damage to it, it will be able to flip and come back over to us as the Zohora Apex of Icora. So the big thing about this is that it's very awesome with our dinosaur deck. Plus, it's the dinosaur itself. It has reach, which is nice because this deck is a little bit light in the flying department. And then for each non-human creature you control, you may have that creature assign combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So they can end up blocking the entire thing, but we can end up having our creatures do damage to them instead, because that's what the card lets us end up doing. And then we have a nice little hidden synergies that we have with like Star of Extinction and Chandra's Ignition, which is a board wipe that'll go over with it. However, with Raptors, it gives us an option to be able to do the damage over to our opponents instead, because our opponents aren't dinosaurs. So all that goes over with it. We may end up losing them unless we have the way that we have a finisher in this deck, or I like to call a flex of Akroma's Will. We can end up making them indestructible. That way we don't lose our stuff, but they lose their stuff, which would be a nice will way. And we do have some countermeasures to counter spells. Like the play I ended up doing there. We have Cavern of Souls, which we can end up putting on Dinosaur, which will make it uncounterable when we use the mana from this. And then we also have an enchantment. An enchantment of Rhythm of the Wild. Makes our creature spells not counterable. But then it also gives them Riot, where we have a choice to give them a +1/+1 counter, or we could give them Haste. Haste is another good way to end up doing it. Talking about haste, we have a couple dinosaurs that allows us to do that, but we also have Xenagos, God of Revels, where we get a boost based off the power of that creature, but then it also will gain haste. Other ways that we have haste is going to be from our Registrar Alpha, which that ends up giving haste as well to the other dinosaurs. Plus, it gives you a little ability of a 3/3 dinosaur. Thrashing Brontodon allows us to be able to sacrifice it to be able to remove an artifact or an enchantment, but still end up having a pretty decent discovery with a Discover of 4, since that's based off its booty. Rampaging Fedocidon is wrapped up with a new skin as a Velociraptor, which will make them take a or makes everyone take a damage whenever a creature comes into play. Trumpeting Connoisseur is a nice solid card that you can end up doing. It has a nice flex that it can end up being where you can discard it and you can do 3 damage to a target creature or a planeswalker. And when it comes into play, we could end up discovering for 5. So we get to discover, so we get to discover 6, but then we also have the option to discover for 5. Now, it's important to say that we can end up doing it both in the same turn with our commander. Our commander is going to trigger once, so that would be the 6, and then this triggers itself for 5. So that's where we're going to have 2 separate cases of that triggering. And then you have being able to filter your entire mana because you end up having a 3-color deck, so you want to be able to make sure that you have the other colors that goes over with it. Yavimaya Cradle of Growth is a nice solid card in this deck because it ends up making all your mana tap for green, and green's the mainstay color that we have for the deck. Rogue's Passage gives unblockable. And I have to say, this Greater Good is a good solid value because if your creatures are going to end up dying, you might as well draw for it. Plus, it lets you end up filtering off for the better stuff as well for the deck, to making sure that you have the best cards that you can end up having. Growing Rites of Iccomok is another fixed Gaia's Cradle. How so? If you look over it, it lets us look at the top 4 cards, but if you flip it, it becomes the Cradle of the Sun, where it taps for a green, but it also has a chance to be able to tap for a green for each creature that you control. And finally, but not least, is... which one did I want to go with? We'll dive in with, or we will talk about the card draw from Risk Card's Expertise. I've had this card go bonkers. I've drawn more cards than the blue player has. I know, that's unsound for it, but I have done it. I've had it draw 15 cards, 13 cards, and it's crazy amount that you can end up getting card selection because we have big dinosaurs, and some of them could come in a little bit cheaper. Oh, we can't forget about the little +1/+1 counters that we have because each time we play a card from Discover, we'll put a +1/+1 counter on this Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we do have the Jurassic World theme that's in this deck. I wanted to make sure that we ended up getting that in here because, well, it's dinosaurs. So you had to have Jurassic Park. So you have the Hunting Velociraptor, which is amazing because it gives Prawl to all of your dinosaurs. A Ravenous Tyrannosaurus. This is good old Rexy. You'll be able to see her in like 3 of the other movies that they have. The staple part of Jurassic World. And then we have Velociraptor, which is also from the Secret Lair. And finally, but not least, is Savage Order. Do you have any questions about the deck? Let us know down in the comments down below. Also, with that did you pick up the deck? If so, what upgrades did you do to it? And how well do you love the deck itself? So, this deck is a very explosive deck where it can go out from nowhere to be. So, the main thing that you want to be doing in your early game is ramping. You want to be trying to ramp your way up because if we could get our Palazzo down turn 3, turn 4, we're well within the path. So, more of a mid-game deck, but it has a way easy way to get to the long game. It's more of like a battleship style with it, but it does have some kind of removal to be able to respond to other threats that we ended up doing, and it has board wipes to be able to help to control the board to where we get to be able to play our dinosaurs. What do you think of the deck? Let us know down in the comments down below. Also, have you did any upgrades? Did you pick up the deck? If so, let us know what you ended up doing. And also, if you didn't pick up the deck, why didn't you pick up the deck? Thank you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And hit that little bell to be notified whenever we come out with new content. We're going to have depth text. We're going to have deep dives like this. And then we're also going to have comics. It's going to be over with hauls, reviews, and stuff like that. So stay tuned and let's see what we can end up bringing up. Let's make 2024 an awesome year. Thank you for watching. And until next time, we'll see you later.